Oppenheimer didn't just ignite a bomb, it detonated movie history. Behind the precision and gravitas was a set full of panic, obsession, and total creative chaos. Actors starved themselves. Nolan broke science just to keep it real, and one scene nearly blinded the entire crew. These are 20 weird facts about Oppenheimer, plus a bonus that even Einstein might have called insane. Fact 1. The bomb was real. Well, kinda. When Christopher Nolan said he'd film a nuclear explosion without CGI, everyone assumed he was bluffing. He wasn't. Instead of digital effects, Nolan turned to special effects supervisor Scott R. Fisher and said, "Build me a bomb." What they created was a fusion of gasoline, magnesium, aluminum powder, and miniatures, detonated in the New Mexico desert in pitch black night. The shot took less than 2 seconds, but the flame roared higher than a 3-story building. No green screen, no digital afterglow, just pure burning chemistry. And the terrifying part? It looked so real, even the actors flinched. Fact 2, Cillian Murphy didn't eat for months. To play a man eroded by guilt and intellect, Murphy took things way too far. He told Nolan, "I want to feel hollow." So he ate almost nothing, just an almond here, an apple there, coffee, cigarettes, repeat. His co-stars said he started to look translucent, bones visible, eyes haunted. Robert Downey Jr. said it best. He was in a different dimension. It wasn't method acting, it was self-erasure. Murphy didn't want to look like Oppenheimer. He wanted to disappear into him. Fact 3. The script had no punctuation. When Murphy opened Nolan's screenplay, he was confused. There were no scene headings, no camera directions, no punctuation. It read like a dream, or a memory, or both. That's because Nolan wrote it in the first person. Every line filtered through Oppenheimer's perspective. There's a reason the film feels like it's collapsing inward. You're inside his mind, drowning in it. According to Murphy, reading it felt like falling into a vortex, which, to be fair, is also how watching it feels. Fact 4, the movie almost killed IMAX, literally. To film in black and white IMAX, something never done before. Nolan had to invent the format from scratch. Kodak had no such film. Panavision had no cameras that could handle it. So Nolan just commissioned them. Kodak built new film stock. Panavision customized gear. Labs had to rewire machines to process it. The total cost, untold. The risk, if it failed, they'd break the most expensive cameras on Earth. But it didn't fail. It changed film history again. Fact 5. The Trinity test blinded people. Almost. Filming the Trinity bomb test involved a pyrotechnic blast so bright, Nolan reportedly warned the crew, "Do not look directly at it." They were given special goggles, protective screens. One camera crew still turned away in fear. Another guy just closed his eyes and prayed. The result on film? Blinding. The result on set? No injuries. But one crew member reportedly said, "My corneas feel violated." That shot, it's not just dramatic, it's dangerously close to real. Fact 6. Christopher Nolan told the composer, "Make me feel doomed." Ludwig Göransson didn't just write a score. He built a nervous system. He used Geiger counters, warped string sections, pianos recorded backward. The music doesn't support the scenes. It stalks them. Nolan's note was simple. It should feel like a countdown, even when nothing's ticking. Result, a soundtrack that never lets you breathe. Even in quiet scenes, your body's convinced something terrible is about to happen, because honestly, it is. Fact 7. Einstein didn't blink. That was intentional. The scene where Einstein and Oppenheimer talk by the pond, Nolan gave Tom Conti, Einstein, a very specific direction. Don't blink. Why? because Nolan believed Einstein wasn't just a man. He was a force. So Conti held his eyes wide open, even when the wind blew, even when Murphy stared him down. Watch it again. It's unsettling, like Einstein's seeing the whole world at once. And maybe he is. Fact 8. Florence Pugh almost said no. Then Nolan told her one thing. She read the script and was shocked by the nudity, the rawness, the religious controversy. Pugh hesitated. "Why me?" she asked Nolan. His answer? "Because people will underestimate what you can do with this." She took the role, and when the most controversial scene in the film, the nude Bhagavad Gita sequence, hit the screen, audiences gasped. Pugh didn't just shock them, she dominated the moment and reminded everyone why Nolan never cast by accident. Fact 9. The courtroom scenes weren't shot in a courtroom. Those brutal, claustrophobic security hearings, they weren't filmed in a courtroom at all. They were filmed in a soundproof box on a tiny set with no windows under flickering lights. Why? Nolan wanted the characters to feel trapped, and they were. Even the air was recycled. Cillian Murphy said he started to panic between takes. It felt like a cell, because that's what it was. Fact 10. Nolan didn't show the bomb drop. On purpose. There's no Hiroshima, no Nagasaki, no scenes of the bomb's impact. Why? Nolan said, "We see what Oppenheimer sees." He wanted the audience to sit in moral horror, not cinematic spectacle, because this wasn't an action movie. It was a confession, and showing the aftermath would have let us off the hook. Instead, he kept us in the blast radius of guilt, enjoying the chaos behind the most precise movie of the decade. Then don't miss what's coming next. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're the first to know when we drop more behind the scenes madness. Because we're only halfway through, and trust me, it's about to get nuclear. Fact 11. Robert Downey Jr. almost quit. When Nolan offered him the role of Louis Strauss, Downey hesitated. He was used to charm, speed, heroism, not quiet manipulation. Nolan looked him in the eye and said, "This time, no mask, no makeup, no signature smirk, just raw control." Downey agreed, but halfway through filming, he told a friend, "I think this guy is terrifying because he thinks he's the hero." That line stayed with Nolan, and it shaped the entire second half of the film. Fact 12. The whole movie was edited like a spiral. Jennifer Lame, the editor, didn't cut Oppenheimer linearly. She designed the film like a black hole. Everything pulled inward, scenes folding into each other. She said the goal was organized disorientation. Your brain tries to find the center, it never does. The timeline loops, the flashbacks flash forward. You feel like you're drowning in memory. Because that's exactly what Oppenheimer was doing. Genius doesn't move straight, it implodes. Fact 13. The set burned down mid-shoot. One of the New Mexico sets, designed to mimic 1940s Los Alamos, caught fire during a night shoot. A spark from a generator lit part of the costume tent. Within minutes, the flames jumped to the lighting rig. The crew evacuated fast. No injuries, but thousands of dollars in vintage replicas were torched. Nolan's reaction? He walked through the smoke and said, "Well, guess the war just started early." Filming resumed 36 hours later, because of course it did. Fact 14. The sex scene wasn't supposed to break the internet. When Florence Pugh and Cillian Murphy locked eyes across that book, the Bhagavad Gita scene, Twitter imploded. Memes, debates, outrage. But Nolan had a different intention. He wanted to show how Oppenheimer saw power as seductive, divine, and terrifying. Pugh's performance wasn't sexual, it was symbolic. She represents fire, destruction, The truth he can't escape. It wasn't eroticism, it was prophecy, and it worked too well. Fact 15. Matt Damon postponed his marriage therapy to take the role. Damon had promised his wife no more roles during therapy. Then Nolan called. His wife asked, "Is it Christopher Nolan?" He nodded. She said, "You can do it." So Damon joined the cast and nailed the role of Leslie Groves with military-grade precision. No stunts, no explosions. Just bureaucracy and quiet fury. He said it was the most adult role of his career, and maybe his most terrifying. Fact 16, that raindrop shot was a science reference. In one scene, Oppenheimer imagines a single drop of rain hitting water, triggering waves that ripple endlessly. It's just a few seconds, no dialogue, but it's a visual metaphor for the chain reaction in nuclear fission. One atom splits. The energy doesn't stop. It was Nolan's idea. He told the effects team, "Make it beautiful, but make it look like dread. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. The atom doesn't explode, the world does." Fact 17, there's a scene with zero sound. And that's the point. Right before the Trinity test detonation, the entire theater falls silent. No wind, no music, no breath, just Cillian Murphy blinking. That moment wasn't an audio error. It was pure design. Nolan timed the silence to mimic what would happen in real life. The light arrives before the sound, and when the sound does hit, and it's like being punched in the chest. That silence, it's not peace, it's the pause before history ends. Fact 18. The suits were radioactive, not literally, as but close. Costume designer Ellen Mirojnick studied every photo from the Manhattan Project archives, and she found something strange. All the physicists dressed like jazz musicians, high-waisted pants, narrow ties, thin frames. Why? Because most were recruited from universities in the 1930s and brought their fashion with them. So the Oppenheimer wardrobe wasn't an aesthetic choice. It was authentic, and it made the scientists look like stylish ghosts. Fact 19. Nolan didn't call action or cut. Ever. On most film sets, the director shouts cues, not here. Nolan believes that breaks immersion, so instead he'd walk up, nod once to the camera crew and whisper, "Go when ready." No shouting, no noise. Cillian Murphy said it made the whole thing feel more like theater than cinema. Even the bomb sequence was done in near silence. Because sometimes the loudest stories are whispered. Fact 20. Oppenheimer's tears were unscripted in the final scenes when Murphy stares out into the void, the tears that roll down his face. Not written. Nolan didn't even ask for them. Murphy was so emotionally wrung out from months of internalizing guilt, starvation, and historical weight that they just fell. The camera kept rolling. Nolan didn't say a word. That shot made the final cut because it wasn't acting anymore. It was confession. Bonus fact, the real Oppenheimer's voice plays in the film. Buried beneath the soundtrack, in the deepest background of one key scene, is something extraordinary. A distorted recording, warped by time and static. A whisper, barely audible. It's J. Robert Oppenheimer himself. Nolan slipped it in during one of the montage sequences where the physicists begin realizing what they've done. The voice is clipped, almost ghostly. He says, in some sort of crude sense which no vulgarity, no humor, no overstatement can quite extinguish, the physicists have known sin. Nolan didn't announce it, he didn't subtitle it, he just let it drift through the chaos, like a ghost watching his own creation. Because in this story, the real Oppenheimer never truly leaves. Oppenheimer wasn't just a film, it was fallout, a biopic wrapped in dread, a blockbuster disguised as an apology. It bent time, scorched screens, and left audiences questioning everything. From power to memory to the price of brilliance. No CGI, no safety net, just fire, guilt, and the sound of silence stretched across history. Because Nolan didn't just tell a story, he lit the fuse, stepped back, and let the world watch it burn.